Hi, Katie. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. So, everyone that's watching, this is like the first Zoom YouTube podcast that I'm doing. So, bear with us as we're trying to figure this out. But Katie's actually my really good friend that I've been wanting to bring on to the YouTube and do like a real video at some point. So, once all of this craziness ends, Katie, we'll have to do like a proper in person video.
Yes.
But thank you for being with me. Katie is, can I call you like a celebrity trainer? Because you are. You are.
Yeah, sure.
Katie's an amazing dancer. Her and I know each other from a fitness studio that we were both worked at. Katie's a trainer there and is an actress as well, and just an all-around amazing person. One of the like
Love you.
favorite things, honestly, like when we get paid to just like have very deep philosophical life chats. So that's what we're kind of gonna do today. Just I like Katie just has been such a light in my life, and like you've just had, I feel like, such a amazing journey of like getting really centered and like self-aware. So I feel like you just have a
We're
lot
soul
of,
sisters.
we really are. And actually we're one day apart. So
Yeah.
we're both psycho Capricorns in certain ways. We're not psycho, but there's like just a lot of like Capricorn-esque things that we'll do and like be thinking at the same time. And we have like a lot of weird life parallels. So
Yeah.
um but do you want to, how long have you been in LA for? I actually don't even know the answer to this.
Honestly, I don't know the answer either because I don't understand time anymore. But
Do you remember what year you moved here?
I, okay, my first year here was rocky because I was in a 3 month dance program. I wasn't intending to move here. I think it was 2014.
Okay.
So is
That
that
makes about sense.
6 years?
I've been here since 2013, so I'm coming up on my 7 year in September.
Okay, yeah, I
Lucky
think I'm like
seven.
coming up on 6. Whoa,
Okay. Is it crazy? Time flies when
it's
you're
wild.
trying to stay alive in LA. No, we're thriving, not surviving.
I mean, these
Um,
days we're all trying to survive, I think.
yeah. Well, you've done such a good job of, I feel like, adapting to like the online space. And like we've had talks about this before, kind of like managing the pressure that you feel. I feel like personally everybody was like, okay, you have to like build your online presence during this time and find a way to adapt to that current thing. And it's something you've done really well, but I feel like you did it very intentionally and just like in a way that wasn't putting so much pressure on yourself. And if you did, like I didn't see it at all. Like it didn't come across as striving. It just felt very natural. So like what has your
Thanks.
process been like, and have you experienced any resistance while you've been doing that? Or
Um, it's been interesting because yeah, this started and work stopped, so you just kind of had to hit the ground running.
mm-hmm.
And the whole time, like I'm not an influencer. I've never felt like an influencer, but all of a sudden you're kind of thrown into that world. But I've kept it just business. So I post when I have to post and I try to just be as clear as possible. And when I'm feeling like I'm on it too much, I try to give myself breaks. It gets,
Mm,
I feel myself now more than ever, like getting a little stuck in the Instagram world, which has never really
mm,
happened to me before.
mm-hmm.
But I'm just trying to be aware of it and like balance, like
Yeah.
keep it healthy. So thanks. I appreciate that it felt seamless because
Yeah.
really there was no strategy. It's just taking it one
Mm,
step at a time and seeing what I like about what other people do and some things that I don't like and
mm.
just figuring it out along the way. So it's kind of changed and morphed
Mm-hmm.
as
Well, I
time has
think
gone
like
on.
what you're saying, which is really important, is just like taking it one step at a time and like doing, just being straightforward. And I think what I'm seeing that seems so seamless is like it's very authentic to you. Because I think it can be easy, and no matter what, like whether it's now or any other time, to get caught up in like what everyone else is doing and what the right thing is. But I feel like you're so good at always coming back to just like staying authentic and staying grounded. And like, yeah, I think the biggest thing is just taking one step at a time.
I mean, it can get overwhelming. I'm not one that naturally shares a lot online, so that was kind of a weird transition. I feel the effects and the pressure for sure, like from putting myself out there more, but it's definitely been a growing experience. And it's funny because something will happen and momentum will carry, and I feel like I'm growing, and then like all the insecurities will come follow suit like clockwork every time. And kind of my mantra has just been like, I don't know, this is part of it. It's because of the growth. In the past, I might have taken that insecurity as just self-doubt, and like maybe I shouldn't be, maybe it's too much, maybe I'm not doing the right thing, like whatever. And I'm like, you know what, let's just try it this way, which is to continue on full force, and it's been working. So
yeah, because I think no matter what you're doing, that like growing pains is part of the process. And totally. I think like we've kind of shared this, it's like when you're putting yourself out there, it's like it feels really vulnerable, and you start to like seek validation. And like, because once you start to feel that insecurity, at least for me, I'm like, are people liking this? Or even like I'll text my friends like, does this resonate with you? Should I post this? And it's like, I think it's good to be intentional and like here and there check in and kind of gauge that what you're doing is adding value. But at a certain point, if you ask too many people's different opinions, then it's not you and your content. So it kind of just becomes about like getting to a point where you feel like centered in you, and like you can see your own value, and as long as you stay true to like then expressing that, it doesn't matter what other people's validation or what their perception is of it. Because honestly, the more you grow, the more you're going to have people that might not agree with what you're doing, or that might not get your style. But totally. I don't know, I think we've both kind of shared that like same feeling of like, that I think a lot of people feel, of that like resistance once you start to speak up and to like put yourself out there more on social media. It's like, well, who cares what I'm saying right now? And like, I don't want to be like every other person who's like trying to be an influencer, and just all those different voices in your head. But I feel like you've done a really good job of just like staying consistent. Like you have classes every day. Is it every day that you have your classes?
Almost every day. I try to take like a day or two off a week.
Right. And that's important. Yeah. I feel like you're such a, like when I was thinking about this little like interview, I was thinking about you and like what I love about you. And I feel like you're just like the queen of balance. Like you're so healthy and into wellness and like best body, like so fit. But then she also like loves In-N-Out and will like pound a cheese board and a bottle of wine with me. And I just feel like you're really good at balance in all areas of your life.
I appreciate that. And it's weird, balance, like for whatever reason has been a consistent, like just a consistent in my life. Like anytime I'm working on anything, I always come back to balance. So I just know that that is something that's really important to me. And that doesn't always mean like always doing everything even keel to stay in balance, but it means if you're going really hard, for me working out, then on my off days, I'm really, really going to rest, or I'm really, really going to indulge, and tuning in. Like to me, the balance has helped from the downtime and the quiet time of tuning in and being honest with like, what do I really need? Not what does the ego want, or like any of that, but just what. And sometimes what I want isn't what I actually want to do. Sometimes that's, I need a salad and I don't want to eat a salad, but I need veggies. So maybe I'll get the salad and then I'll get the In-N-Out too, As long as you got veggies in there at some point.
Yeah. And so when you're determining like what it is that you like need versus want, like what does that look like for you? Because I feel like like I said, you've kind of gone on this journey, so you're really good at being in tune with yourself, but kind of what are your practices?
Yeah, that's a tough one because it is something I've been like purposefully practicing for a long time. And since I've danced and I've gone through injuries and all of that, so I'm really in tune with my body and I can kind of feel, I can feel when it needs a yoga class versus when it just needs a cold shower or a massage, you know, like I can feel that, but it's just getting quiet with yourself, I think, and tapping in and allowing yourself to feel and like actually feel in your body, in your breath. And then from there, I don't know, then you kind of just are able to ride the wave and it keeps you happy and then it gives you energy.
No, that makes sense. I think the biggest thing, like what I'm getting out of that is like a lot of people, especially myself, like struggle even getting to that point where you realize you need to just like push everything aside and like get centered and like doing what you need in like realizing that that's different than what you think you should do, you know?
I can give an example. Like I think sometimes you can go too far and you're like, what if maybe your goal is to get in shape? So then you're like, what I need is a workout. I need to work out or I need to limit what I'm eating or whatever. But then you're not nourishing yourself. You're overdoing it. Your body isn't able to heal, you know, and on the other end, maybe you're like, I need rest. I need rest. And then, you've gotten your rest and then you get stuck in that indulgent nature, you know? So it's, I don't know. It's just being honest with yourself, which isn't easy, obviously. Like we lie to ourselves all the time, but it's just asking yourself, like, okay, what do I really need? And just getting quiet. And if that means meditating, like lately, music has been helping me so much. I'll like old music, new music, whatever it is, that's been allowing me to like get present and feel the emotions that I've been putting off feeling because that's what I've been needing. I'm not one that naturally just journals, but that has been huge in figuring out what I actually need. And again, music has been a really good tool. Like I'll start playing tunes and that'll kind of take me somewhere and then I'll get this thought and I'll write it down and then like 8 pages later. Whereas in the past, I would never think to journal, you know?
Right.
So it's just like allowing yourself to fall down the rabbit hole, like in a positive, I don't know, just in a way that's truthful and helpful for yourself. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And I think the cool thing about this time is it is allowing us more time and space to kind of like discover those tools. Like I've always journaled, but I'm definitely like journaling more. And through that, like I'm able to go deeper and kind of have more of that self-discovery as well. And also, you know, like I know you meditate a lot. That's not something I've always been good at consistently doing, but that's something I've like worked more into my practice of, you know, now being at home. So I feel like what you're saying can resonate with a lot of people, that like it can be a time to experiment and find what that is for everyone that like resonates with them kind of down the rabbit hole to get to that point of, oh, this is what I needed all along. So
there's just like a bunch of different tools, I feel like, and along the way I've picked up so many, and then the fun thing is tapping into what I actually need and figuring out which tool will serve me at this moment, you know? And then it's fun and it's play versus work. Sometimes it's work still, but
right. It's like there's a discipline to it still. It's not because there's times where like I don't feel like journaling, but I know it's what I need, so you do it, you know? And kind of same with like exercising, especially during quarantine when like conditions aren't perfect and like so spoiled, usually having our like beautiful fitness studio with like so much space, and trying to do cardio in like my small apartment with like my downstairs neighbors. Like I've been having to go to like these little mini parks near where I live. And
that's nice though.
It's nice, but it's also so embarrassing because I do like the Body by Simone app, and if I'm doing dance cardio, so like, but Katie knows this, but the Body by Simone dances are kind of choreographed to get your heart rate up and like engage your full body. So when you're not a professional dancer and you're doing it, sometimes it can just look like limbs flailing.
No, you're great.
No, but like
Kirstin's a phenomenal dancer.
Thanks, Katie.
People are probably like popping out of the woodwork like, ooh, who's that girl? What's she doing?
No, but there's these old men that like sit at this park every morning, and like sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not, just like drinking their Starbucks. And this morning they were there, and they're literally, because you know how sometimes old people, like no offense to old people, they just like stare, like they don't have a problem staring.
Yeah,
they're just staring at me as I was doing like gypsy and like whip it in the park.
I still never learned gypsy.
It's honestly one of my favorites. You should
teach it to me.
Watch it on the app, or I can teach it to you.
Yeah.
When the student becomes the teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Namaste.
But can you explain another thing I learned from Katie is the concept of mini naps?
Oh, I love the mini naps. Yeah, honestly, I utilize these. I haven't been using them as much, but all the time. Okay, so first of all, I'm an innately lazy person. And I know that sounds weird. Like, why would I go into fitness? I don't know. But it's because I like how I feel during and after. But the thought of doing it, like, I don't want to. So, and I get tired. Like, I don't know, we're working out for like hours a day. So I don't even know how I think I just did it in class one day, but you just allow your body and mind to fully shut down. Should I do it? For like
do it.
1 second? Okay, so if I was to mini nap right now, woo! Like ready to go. Edit that out.
No, this is a glimpse into Katie's classes. It's honestly my favorite because
I'm sweating.
Because also like there's nothing about you that is like forced. You know, I think it's really easy to get.
I appreciate that.
No, I mean this. Like I think it's really easy to get caught in like a script of what we say and what we do, especially like if you're doing the same class every single day. And like you just do such a good job of staying present and just being in the moment. And like,
thank you.
Honestly, it's just funny to watch sometimes because you never know what's gonna come out of Katie's mouth, but it's like great. Like It's always super entertaining. Because I'll be like dying in class and then she'll do a mini nap and just be like, woo!
Because I'm dying too, and the mini naps really help. Like I honestly can't recommend them enough for any. Like they work. Like
I just
try
don't
it.
know.
Just let yourself fully. I mean, that was like a weird like demo, but like just let yourself fully shut down for like one exhale, and then just jump back in. Just allowing yourself to fully release. We just don't do that enough throughout the day. Like fully release for 1 second. Mini nap, jump back in.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, I think all jokes aside, that like concept of like releasing, like energetically, people talk about surrender all the time and letting go, but like what does that actually mean? And I find sometimes, because you can like in your intellect be like, oh, I'm letting go, but a lot of times we can't really conceptualize what that actually means. And sometimes I've found in periods of my life where I'm not really like trusting and like letting go, it has a physical manifestation that I start to notice. And I've noticed this as I've gotten more in tune and more present with like what my body needs. I'll find myself super tensed up and I'm like, why do I feel so tense? And for me, it gets a lot in my throat. Like if my throat starts to feel really tight, and then I'm like, oh, I'm literally holding on, and it's having this physical manifestation of like me being completely tensed up. So I think, and like you're so good with breath work and you talk about this all the time, but just like
I hold there too.
Breathing deep and letting go. And like even when you work out is like such a good example. So many people hold their breath because like when you feel uncomfortable and stressed in life, you just like clench everything. And so all jokes aside, because I just think the mini naps are hilarious, but it really is just a good picture of like taking a second to check in and let go.
Yeah, I think honestly, like breath and presence has helped me, like, definitely in working out and definitely just in life in general, like that pairing. And they work together. I mean, like at all, just following your breath is you breathing and gets you present. But yeah, I've been working on releasing, because just with everything that's going on, like the body definitely holds emotion, intention, and unknowing and all of that. And just practicing body scans, like I found I was holding tension, like I didn't even like, it's, you don't even realize until you check in, and then you're like, oh, I can let that go. And you feel like you feel the release. It's crazy. Like it gets like, to me it feels like spiritual almost, because you just it like disintegrates throughout your body, and you feel more open in general, and the energy is just able to kind of like flow through you a little bit better.
Totally. It literally feels like, when I have those moments, and a lot of times for me, it's like through prayer, like I literally feel like a weight being lifted from my shoulders. You feel lighter after it, and you don't realize like how much tension you were carrying around. You talked about body scan. Can you explain, like, if anyone's watching, because it's something I've heard, and like I don't really know exactly what it is and how to do it, but it might be like a good tool for someone to use.
Yeah, especially if you're new to meditation or like don't know what to do on your own. It's a really easy way to just connect to your body. So you just lay down. I like to meditate laying down. That will often turn into a nap, but I just feel like I can release a little bit more than when I'm sitting. I also I see the benefits of the spine in sitting meditation, but I think with the body scan, laying down is best. And then you just start with the body parts. So you could start with maybe your feet or your hands, and just really try to feel like what's going on the inside of your palms. Like, what do you like? Can you feel any sensations like in your fingertips, in your palms? Yeah, close your eyes. What does it feel like? Like, is there a tiny vibration? Do you feel nothing? Can you tune in even deeper? So it's just,
vibration.
Okay, yeah. So like,
there's
whatever.
Vibration in my hands.
Yeah, which is crazy. We're all always vibrating, like we're just energy. So you just start small, and then you just take that intention and travel it up your body, and then also you can tune in, like when let's say you're at your shoulders. Can you breathe into your shoulders? Can you feel your back expand and contract as you're concentrating on your shoulders? Are you holding on to anything? Like I think I said earlier, like I realized I was like holding tension like in my quad, and I didn't even realize, and then it released. And the head, and I mean, if you believe in chakras, like even just if you don't, like our spine, everything connects this way, so we're always holding tension here. So just to let it all go, like we always have the wrinkle here, the jaw, the throat. Like sometimes I'll just sit like with one, or lay down with one hand on my throat, one on my belly or my heart, and I'll just like, that'll help like bring attention to it. So instead of just picturing, you can also just place your hands on parts of your body. So a lot of times I'll do my heart and my belly, so I can feel the rise and fall. I can feel my chest actually opening and breathing through my heart space, which like right away kind of connects me to the present moment. I practice that when I'm moving too, like just through space. When you breathe through your heart space, you kind of feel like you're giving energy, and you're also able to receive it. I feel like as women, we're used to protecting ourselves. I see it in class all the time. Like the ladies are trying to dance like this, and I'm like, no, like this is for us, we're like show off the goods, but just allowing that to open, and then things will flow through. And I see once I do that, it comes, the energy comes back to you. It's crazy. Like I see other people get uplifted by it, and then it also comes back to me. It happens in class. It happens like in
Yeah.
life. It's wild.
Yeah.
Just
I
for
love
rest.
seeing that in class too. Like it really like whoever's in the class can really affect the energy, and like you can see like if you're going really hard how it affects other people. And yeah, I never thought of, I mean, my acting coach has always got on me about like my posture, because like when I first started studying with him I was 17, and like I did kind of slump more like this. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it really was like that, like, you know, we're kind of taught to shrink back sometimes as women, and
Totally.
it's just crazy how that manifests physically in your body. And then like we've talked about this before too, like with our voice, like I've worked on my voice a lot, because when I first started acting too, or like studying with this teacher, he also said I wasn't using my authentic voice. So like I started working with a voice coach, and my voice was like much higher than it was, like than my natural voice was and how it sounds now. So like I had to do like intense like physical work with her, because I was contracting my throat so much, because I was like subconsciously trying to play small. Because
Mm.
when society talks about giving women their voice back, there's usually like a literal like meaning to that, you know, and people think it's like symbolic, but a lot of people aren't using their authentic voice because they're taught to be small and be nice and just be the nice, sweet girl. But it's interesting because a lot of the vocal training that I did to work on my voice involved like it sounds kind of like the body scan that you're doing. It's called Alexander technique, is like the
Oh yeah, I did that in
you're
college.
a lot of actors and even singers are familiar with it, but my teacher would have me lay down with it like in semi-supine with like my legs up, like a knees and tabletop, and then the legs resting on like the couch or whatever, something that's equal length to where your legs naturally come up. And I
Yeah.
still do this, and I just lay there, and like it just is, it puts, literally using gravity, it puts your body in like the optimal position to just open up and to like let your throat open up and just everything. And then she has me like breathe and like just relax the muscles, and she has like me envision like my back being like wax in the sunlight, just
Mm-hmm.
melting. And it's just all that, like it's pretty similar to I think the body scan thing.
Yeah, and it
But
feels scary at first to release because you're like, what's gonna
mhm,
happen? You know, you're
mhm,
holding on for a reason. So
yeah,
it's liberating, but it's scary. And what I don't know, it's kind of addicting. Like I just started redoing. I used to do this all the time, but I think, you know, life happens. But I've been doing it more. And the first release, I was like, you know,
mhm, because it's
but
so the reason why we get to a point where we have to release, it's because our subconscious and our ego creates these walls up that like we think it's protecting us, like our subconscious thinks it's protecting us as like a
yes.
defense. Like for me, using a smaller voice is protecting me against people thinking I'm like mean or whatever, that whatever lie I was telling myself. And so it's scary when you break beyond that, because I think subconsciously we've trained ourselves that this is good and this is my mode of operation. And anytime you change that or challenge that, it's just like this, like you have to get your mind, body, and spirit kind of all in alignment, and sometimes they're not. And I think that's where the scariness comes in, because things are shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can always tell when it's not in alignment because that's when you, to circle back, are seeking validation outwardly instead of
Mm-hmm.
inwardly. Um, I have noticed a pattern of like in relationships just being just misunderstandings. And you're like, what? Like, that's not the intention. Why is it coming across that way? That's a cue to me. Okay, something's not lining up with myself. And maybe it's just a body thing and I need to breathe into
Mm-hmm.
it, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
it's maybe it, you know, it can be anything, but
Yeah.
it's just
You're so good at sensing, like, and we've talked about this a lot in our conversations of like when things feel in alignment or not.
mm-hmm.
What is like,
Because I've spent a lot of time not in alignment.
yeah, what does that mean to you though? Because I think, again, you're really self aware. So a lot of people might not even know what that means or kind of what to look for. And even just being in flow, like you're so good with all that.
Um, thanks. It feels like the universe is working with you when you're in alignment. Like it literally feels like a flow. Like yeses are happening. Every interaction you have is a positive one on both sides. You're getting lucky with random things. And you're just able to be in the moment. So your like true self is just coming out, and you're being rewarded by positive interactions back. In my experience, that's what it's felt like. Like opportunities come up, and friendships feel stronger, relationships feel stronger, all of that. And when I'm out of alignment, I think it will manifest differently for different people. I know I definitely feel it in my body. So I'll have injuries that, like old injuries that will start coming up. And yes, that could be from overuse or jumping on a not sprung floor or whatever. But a lot of times it's something that I need to deal with. So like that's a cue. Or like I said, misunderstandings with people. Like you're like, what? Why is, like I tried to give that person a compliment and they just got mad at me, like, or just it feeling like there's something disingenuous when you're trying to be open and honest. So you're like, that, why, if I'm trying to be, like, why, there's a disconnect somewhere. Or just that like overwhelming feeling of like, we all get it every once in a while of like, just, like, when the depression starts to set in, and I think that like it's a ebbs and flows always, and so I don't think it's ever just on the up and up or just good, and I don't think that you can fully experience the good parts and like the growth without going through those moments of like when everything seems wrong. But it's lately I've been able to cue into when things are feeling a little off quicker, and then I'll get into the pattern of working through it or working on myself, or using some of those tools that I found along the way. And then I'm not in the valley as long, it's kind of, it's a quicker come up, or maybe it's only a couple hours versus a whole day or a weekend or whatever, which now when most of the time you're just by yourself or in your room, an hour is a long time to feel like that,
Yeah.
You can only like bother your parents and your friends so long.
Right. Well, I think the interesting thing about all of this is it's because I think obviously you're really intentional and you're very self-aware. So when you feel that misalignment or that kind of like downward turn into the valley, you're really good about dealing with it in a healthy manner and going inward. A lot of people, and like I'm guilty of this sometimes. Well, that's like everyone's good, like has different. I'm not perfect at this either, but like we do like to numb it with other things and kind of avoid it by like, I like to just like go hang out with my friends and go out and just not think about it as much. But now that all those distractions are eliminated, I think a lot of people are feeling that discomfort of really having to sit with ourselves and sit and process, and there already is so much like triggering stuff going on right now that it's accelerated almost. But I think the people that are really trying to work through it and get through it with like that positive, like I'm gonna grow through this mindset, that's where you learn. And then you grow through that, like going through the valley, like you're always going to come out. And if you do it intentionally, I think you're going to grow from it.
Totally.
So
yeah, that's the best thing I ever did. Like I would numb, because that's what we're taught to do. Like we're taught to drink, or every week, everyone, I mean, in LA, most people don't have 9 to 5s, but like you grind during the week, and then weekend numb. And then everyone's depressed on Sunday because you have to start all over again. And alcohol's a depressant. But
the Sunday scaries.
Yes, I'll numb with TV, with movies, and I'll still do that. And sometimes you need a day to self-indulge and be mopey, or like go ham with your friends or what. Sometimes you need that to start the process over. So I'm not always like, oh, I think I'm a little off. Let me like self-help myself back to normal. Like, no, like I'll hit the bottom first.
Right.
But I won't stay there because it's not useful. But yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, it's exciting actually. I think there will be a lot of people that come out of this with a different perspective and in a different place. I don't know, it's just wild. Like time is just, I think someone said this the other day, but like time is not linear, you know, and it's weird and it's I don't know. I'm excited to see like what this, I mean, obviously it's terrible for so many people, but a lot of people that really all that it's affecting is their mindset. You know, there are a lot of people that still have their job and it's just kind of maybe their social time that's being affected. It's just shining a mirror on it, and it'll be interesting to see kind of like what comes out of it for everybody.
Absolutely. And even I think like obviously there's a lot of loss that's going on with like jobs and complete industries being shut down, but it's also showing us like how to be more efficient with things, I think, you know. And even like, although I won't say online fitness is like the most efficient, but it is like in some ways, like within, for me, for my day, it's like I'm not wasting a half an hour each way driving to the studio and then like hanging and socializing, you know. It's like I do 30-45 minute workout here and then I move on with my day. And and like it obviously won't stay that way forever, but it makes you reassess kind of like this schedule that you've fallen into and the way we've always done things. Like when you're forced to shake it up, we can kind of assess what's working and what's not working. And then like even when we do go back to the studio and like go back to our normal lives, like I think we'll be able to step back into it of saying like what was good about like the old normal and like what can we shed away from that. Because I mean, I saw actually a sermon on this the other day, but he was talking about how like everyone wants to go back to normal, but he's like, the way we were living before wasn't normal. Like we were doing a lot of things that were really unhealthy and we were like treating people really badly, and like people that were complaining about they hated their lives are now complaining that they miss the way things used to be. But it's like, you didn't like how your life was then, so why, you know, like maybe something good is going to come out of this.
Totally.
And it gives everyone, I think, that time to sit and like reflect and reassess what they want to change when they go back.
I saw, or maybe I heard a podcast, or I did, Armchair Expert, and they talked about how like majority of the population is clinically depressed. And my question for that
like right is like, now or always?
Always.
Oh wow.
And my majority, I'm sure they had the percentage. I don't know what it was, but it was majority. Maybe like 80 or something percent, like a wild number.
Wow.
And I was like, why? Like, what are we doing as a society that's just not like, is that just part of human nature and we're just not taught to address it in the right way? So people are sitting with it and they're not processing it, or they're not sitting with it and they're not processing it, or like, have we developed this structure of society that's just like not healthy, you know? I think the latter. Like I mean, I don't know, like some people I'm sure love this structure and love being able to like come in for work and then turn it off and then do their own thing. But I just think the amount of time, especially like as Americans, that we spend working is like psychotic. And I think
absolutely,
to your point, like moving forward, most people's jobs, you don't have to go into the office every time. Now, like, it's nice to go into the office sometimes. No one wants to do work from home every day, but like, yeah, it's kind of exciting to see. Like, I wonder if people are, with mental health in mind, are thinking about like the best way once things are safe that we could go back in a way that's more beneficial for everyone. Because obviously the last method wasn't working. If
80% of people.
Literally, isn't that
That's crazy.
wild?
That's so sad.
It's so sad.
And I think, yeah, it's like definitely has something to do with like the addiction to work and activity. But I also think if you think about it, like I mean, for me personally, I didn't really get to this point of like self-awareness and like learning to journal and take time and be intentional until I graduated college and I was living the freelance life of an actress where I did have more time in my schedule. And I, for the first time in my life, had to slow down and create a new structure in my schedule. And the structure wasn't given to me because like we grow up and you go to school and you have this, you have your after school activities from K to 12. And then like you go right into college and then you like, it just go. And like, it takes a while to like, it's almost like an activity detox, like a drug, where at first when you're sitting and not doing anything, it feels really uncomfortable and it feels scary and you feel things shifting, which is why I think when people do have time off, they just go have fun and party and don't like check in or whatever it is. I don't want to stereotype, but you know what I'm saying. And I think when I first graduated, I did have a little bit of like a freak out moment because I was going through that like activity detox and like, what am I doing with my life? Which maybe a lot of people are feeling now in this time that we're all being forced to sit and reflect. But I just think,
I don't think people will reflect though, unless like, I was blessed with a lot of time for a while until I actually like, and you find ways to fill your time because you're like, at least for me, I was an avoidant and I was like, nope, don't, like, I didn't even think I needed to sit and do nothing and think about myself, you know? I was just always seeking like, what else can I fill my time with? And I think unfortunately that's what people are still doing, but I mean,
it's like, and everyone's tuned differently. I mean, like, some people might love like the hustle and the grind, that's how they're wired, and might love like kicking back and hanging out with friends and watching TV. But when you hear that number of 80% of people are depressed, then like, what's the disconnect? And I mean, just thinking about that, it seems to be mostly an American problem. And like, what about our society is so unique? It seems to be that grind, honestly. And like, I think that a lot of other countries I've visited,
freedom, you know,
but like I know that I visited, like I have family that lives in Germany, and their life, and anytime I've gone to Europe, it just seems so much simpler. And that's one thing I think has been really cool about this time. I think everyone is being forced to have a simpler life. So maybe that even will have benefits to people's happiness of taking away these extraneous things that were not really serving us before and spending more time cooking and just like being with your family and just the simplicity of all of that. But maybe that's an overly optimistic viewpoint.
Yeah, I mean, also part of it, like, we are going through a trauma, no matter how traumatic your day-to-day is or not. So also to like, obviously self-growth and improvement would be awesome during this time since we have the luxury of time, but also like to go easy on yourself and not force the product to come out of it, you know, like it's a balance.
No, well, what you're saying there, I'm glad you said that, because I like got to a point where the last few weeks, like I've just had a lot going on, and things that like I normally feel like I'd be able to deal with, and I'm like a pretty emotionally healthy person, so like I'll feel my feelings and then I'll move on. But I felt that like my emotions were not linear because it was such like unprecedented times, and like the way that we normally process like grief and mourning is like taken away. Like you can't be with your family, you can't, you know, and so I've just found myself feeling really confused, and I just felt like I needed to, I don't know if you do the Enneagram test, but there's like, I'm a 3, which means I'm like an achiever, which means the way that I find fulfillment and the way that I also cope is just by doing things and feeling like I'm achieving. And so I threw myself into like, okay, like I need to spend this time being intentional. And then even like my journaling was turning into like, there had to be a result. I had to grow through this. I had to do this. And I was focusing on the result, or like, I'm just going to write a ton and I need to keep up with doing like YouTube and all of these stupid things that I was putting on myself. But because I was so stressed out and so like emotionally confused, I couldn't do it. And like I felt depressed and I didn't want to talk to anybody because I didn't, like, I know everyone's going through stuff, so I didn't want to like bring anyone into my pain. And like honestly, I've been sad and upset before, but I think like that's the closest that I've ever gotten to like depression. And it like, then because I felt so unmotivated, I couldn't write, I couldn't do any of these other things. And then because the achiever in me feels accomplishment in that, I then felt even worse about myself. And it was like this downward spiral. But then I realized the more I tried to do things in that state and like not really fully allow myself to get to like a pit, I wasn't going to get out of it. So I had to like let myself get there. But then I realized when I was there, and after like a day or two, I was like, okay, like we're not going to stay here. It's time to shake it off. And I had to like make that choice to step out of it and to call a friend and like tell them what was going on and be honest about like, I kind of just need like prayer right now for this because, you know, and that was vulnerable. But as soon as I did that, like I just shook, like I just felt 10 pounds lighter, but and then I feel like I did grow from that, but there was nothing of my own effort in that growth process actually, other than allowing myself to be not okay.
You actually released like the control, like, well, a couple things. One, I want to say like for anyone that is struggling, like I hear you when you're like, I don't want to, everyone's dealing with stuff, but I also think like people want to be of service too, especially to the people they love, you know? So like, I wouldn't, if you need to reach out to people, like, you know, your intuition will tell you who, and they'll probably feel better for helping you through something anyways. So just like for anyone that's, you know, keeping it to themselves when they feel like they need to be talking to someone, I'm like, it's a win-win if you talk to someone, I think. And also, that's how I feel about like having to get super, super honest with yourself, which you did eventually, because like there's so many ways to cope or cover up your feelings or to improve or whatever. And even if your intentions are good, if you're not actually tapping into what you need right now, you're going to be working against the current, and it's going to like drive you deeper into that depression or that feeling of like going against the grain or just like hopelessness or whatever it is, you know? So like that, like it's obviously easier said than done to just like get honest with yourself, because you also have to listen to yourself, which is really hard. Because I'm sure some people, even sometimes I'm like, how do I listen to myself?
Well, I was just gonna say sometimes listening to yourself actually means just realizing when something's not working and then trying something else. Like for me, that's what the last few weeks were about for me. Like the normal things that I do to listen to myself, like journal and work and write and all these things that are usually really like healthy for me. They weren't working because it actually felt like work, and things aren't how they normally are right now. So sometimes like the normal routine that you have that is your go-to to get through hard times is not going to be the same always. So that's where I was finding this isn't working. I'm going through like really intense things right now. And so like my normal little like routine is not going to work. So what is it that I actually need? And it just took me allowing myself to be messy and to like just feel bad about myself for a little bit. And then yeah, like I think I went a little too long not bringing people into it, but that was part of it for me. I'm an external processor, so a lot of times I do like to talk to people about it, but I just like didn't at first, and I think that was good for a little bit of time, but then it got too far where then it felt uncomfortable to reach out to people, and I realized that uncomfortable like feeling I was feeling was a sign that I actually needed to reach out to someone. I almost like I wasn't even going to say that, but I just feel like I'm aware that like I'm always saying like what you can do to be productive and blah, blah, blah. But I want to be honest that like it's okay if you're not being productive. But like honestly, this is like the first thing that I'm doing besides like my writing and stuff that like I feel like now that I'm out of it. So thank you for doing this with me.
Well, I love you, and I would do this with you. And I'm sorry. I honestly, I can't imagine like losing a family member and not be able to properly grieve and being stuck here. It just is terrible. So I love you, and I'm here for you. But
I love you.
I'm proud of you for working, like doing the whole process of like thinking you're doing the right thing, realizing you're not, allowing yourself to bottom out, and then actually like, you know what I mean? That's
that was like totally like I don't think I've ever had that intense of like a process with that before. Like I've definitely hit low and gotten out of it, but it wasn't so like acute almost, and like so like nothing else was going on. So I didn't have to go to work. I didn't have to do these other things. So like I was so aware of the process. But because of that, it was also more accelerated. Like that, like those feelings were more intense, but they didn't linger longer. It was like a week that I was really like that. And then I moved on. Whereas I feel like previously, if maybe I was going through something hard, it was like a few weeks slump that wasn't so low, but it just took me longer to get out of it because I wasn't 100% dealing with it.
I also feel like we're just so many people are experiencing such terrible things right now that there's like you also can be feeling through other people's energy. Do you know what I mean? Like there's like generational trauma. Like I also feel like just energetically in the world, like even if like my day is completely fine. Like, the other day I had a moment where I was like just feeling like crazy amounts of like pain, and I was just letting through the music, letting myself feel it, and then I had this thought like it's like I'm feeling this because I can, and I'm feeling this for someone else. So I'm feeling this because I'm taking it away from them, and so someone has to feel it, and I'm feeling it, and like that's like whether that's true or not. Like because I didn't have anything specific to link it to, that's kind of what like resonated, and it just felt that immediately it turned into like gratitude and self-love and like respect, and I don't know, it was just like a really like beautiful moment.
No, that I really believe in that. That's so beautiful, and I think I believe, and I mean it depends on people too, like 'cause I think some people feel like you and me like feel more deeply, and we take on other people's energy, which can be good because you have those experiences, but then you have to learn how to protect your energy too. But I've definitely felt that, just like feeling the heaviness of everything going on. And
it was it healed me right away, because I was like,
so cool.
Because when you're feeling it yourself, it's so self-indulgent, and it makes you almost feel lower because you're like, oh, I'm feeling this way. But as soon as I shifted my perspective and I'm like, I'm feeling this like for someone else, and it could be someone specific or just like anyone, you know, and it was just like, it was just a really cool, like, healing thought. Like
That's so cool.
and then it allowed it to pass through. And then I was like,
Yeah.
glad I did that for someone.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
that's really cool. That's a good way of thinking of it too, because I feel like sometimes we feel that way and then we don't really know what to do with it. But when you can see it as like a picture of like the bigger, or see it as like a piece of the bigger picture, that's so cool.
Yeah. Food for thought.
I'm getting back to the whole being in alignment thing. Other people are constantly always changing. So the way that like you and I always relate to each other and our ways that we communicate, like we're usually really great with communicating, but there might be some times where we're not. And because one of us is evolving or going, like relationships all the time are going through ebbs and flows. And I think a lot of people either aren't willing to do the work once things get hard, or they're not aware that like the two people have changed a little bit. So now your relationship looks a little different. And so you have to relearn how to be in a new relationship. And that there's this woman, Esther Perel, that I listen to all the time.
I know Esther Perel.
Yeah, Esther talks about this a lot. And that's why a lot of people end up cheating, because they're
not getting what they need.
Yeah, but then it's like we also are in a relationship with ourselves, and you can't cheat on yourself, but you can avoid yourself sometimes. So, so I think when you think of it as being in a relationship with yourself, and just like other relationships go in ebbs and flows, your relationship with yourself, like you got to constantly be like learning about yourself and like how to give yourself what you need.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think when I first started like doing the work, I realized I didn't even know what I wanted. Like I was like, what do I want? How do I not know what I want? Like that's
right,
crazy, you know? And so then that I was like, whoa, like something's wrong. Like I don't know what I want. What I want.
Like, well, it's so easy. Yeah, like I there's so many times where I'm like, I don't know, like I'm the most indecisive person when people are like, where do you want to go to eat? I'm like, I don't care, what do you want? But it's like, why can't I make that decision sometimes?
I know that indecision is something I suffer from too.
Yeah, you guys should see us when we remember that one night when we went out and like we couldn't decide like where we wanted to eat, and then we couldn't decide like where. Remember we were like deciding between what sushi place to go to. Yeah. Which, by the way, I was thinking back to that. Remember, we were like, should we get drinks tonight? And this was like right before all this happened. And I was like, I'm so glad that we got the extra large sake that night, because we went out with a bang. But okay, all jokes aside, how have you stayed eating? Have you eaten healthy during this? Like, have you been like, I don't know, because I think I've been going through like, I'll eat really healthy, but then I'm like, I have such a sweet tooth. My dad freaking sent me literally a gallon of ice cream. So now it's like sitting in my freezer, and I definitely was stress eating it last week. And like, but how do you manage all that, like eating healthy when there's not much to do, and like people love, myself included, love to like just snack as a hobby. And
no, I love snacking too, and I do snack.
You're good at healthy snacks though, I feel.
Well, yeah. So I learned how to healthy snack, and like I also have a sweet tooth, but I'll make like protein pancakes with smushed banana and an egg, and like put some chocolate chips in there. So like, you know, I don't know. I'm like queen of healthy snacks, so get at me if you guys need any healthy snack ideas. But no, I think especially during quarantine, like do what you need to do. Like in general, I'll do like the 80-20 rule, or like the 90-10. So I'll be healthy. I like to live a healthy lifestyle. I feel it in my body if I'm not getting enough vegetables, or if I'm eating too many chips. Like honestly, like that, like processed food and oil, like I feel that in my body. But I love it. So I will always buy snacks when I grocery shop, and I'll usually finish most of the snacks within the first like 2 to 3 days. And then I'm just SOL and have to eat the healthy food the rest of the time. And then I'll do like a day out, and I'll get In-N-Out, or I'll order pizza or whatever. Like I'm not like, again, I'm about balance, but the thing that helps me the most, again, is tuning in to what I actually need. So I feel in my body, like if I'm feeling a little run down, I know I need a green smoothie or I need more water. But I'm never like, I mean, I also know like I don't fare well with cheese or dairy. So I know that. So maybe if I indulge, it'll be in something else. But if there's a cheese plate, like I'm going to eat the cheese plate, you know?
Yeah, you will.
I don't know. I think restrictive is like the worst thing to do. I think the best thing to do is try to limit processed foods as best you can and eat as many veggies and healthy protein as possible, and then indulge when you want to, you know? And if you're feeling like shit, don't indulge. Like if you're, if you're feeling great, indulge.
Yeah.
And it's a great day. Then you feel great and you got to indulge, and then you go back to eating healthy the next day and you never even feel the indulging. Like,
I think sometimes my body gets to a point when I'm like really craving like pizza or something not healthy. Like if I'm truly craving that and my body's like screaming out for it, when I eat that, I don't feel gross after because like something about that my body needed. And then actually I feel like sometimes it like speeds up my metabolism when I
shocks the system.
Yeah. But it
I'm
only
a full believer in that.
But shocking the system, I unfortunately discovered only works when it truly is a shock and it's not just like a normal occurrence.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, again, sorry, but, like, I'm not a number counter. I will read ingredients.
That's important.
Yeah. I'm a believer in healthy habits. So that's eating healthy food, working out consistently and in a way that's good for your body. So, for me, that's a balance between cardio and toning, and then sometimes peppering in yoga. It's going to look different for everybody because we all have different body types and buildups, but it's figuring that out. And then if you're, for the most part, living a healthy lifestyle, then you can honestly indulge whenever you want, because then after you do it, if you feel like shit, then you realize you need to go back to eating healthy. I don't know. That's a really weird answer, but
yeah. No, it's kind of just like that. I kind of relate to that. Like I said, I was stress eating ice cream all last week and like drinking a lot. So
it was probably good for your like mental health.
Yeah, get it out of your system. And then this week I'm like back at it and I already feel so much better, but like I only have the motivation to be eating the like super clean like the way I am right now because I had that last week. But now I'm like working up to like, okay, what day is it? I've been eating healthy for 2 days now, so like I'm about to indulge by the time the weekend comes,
Yes.
But I personally can't like I did that one like really clean fast for like 40 days, remember?
Oh yeah, I can't do fast.
That like but when I say fast, it was like no dairy, no alcohol, no sugar, it was no meat. Like it was a lot, but I got used to it and I felt great after. But I would maybe only do that once a year because for me it was more of a spiritual thing and it like tested my, again, like eliminating distractions. Like it just made me very intentional and like mindful about what I was putting in my body and maybe what I was turning towards as like an indulgence because I needed to feel better, where like maybe I just needed to like pray and journal. So it was really good, but I would not, I'd only do it if you're really feeling motivated and inspired.
I think also, first of all, that's really impressive. I'm proud of you. It's very challenging to do those. I can't. Thanks. I just genuinely can't do it. But I was going to say, for anyone that like isn't sure where to start, but they know they're like in a rut or need a change or something, for me, always the easiest thing to start is my diet, is getting in healthy food. And then again, it's not eliminating necessarily, but it's just everything just comes from a place of self-love. And I love this body, so what's going to nourish it today, you know? And then that, when you're eating the right things, it gives you energy. And then you're like, oh, I want to do that workout, or I heard that that person was teaching a dance class, I'm going to do that. And then you get a high or an energy from that. And you're like, oh, I want to reach out to my friend I haven't talked to in a while, or I want to journal, or whatever it is. And it snowballs. But like, for me, when I get to those places of like a rut or like no motivation, but I know something needs to change, honestly, like diet has always been such a great place to start, because it really starts cleansing you from the inside out, and it just snowball effects to everything else.
Yeah, that's such a good way of putting it, because it really is like, I hate the people that like, you know, people like, I eat for fuel, not fun. Like, I definitely don't agree with that.
No,
but like the fuel part is actually true. Like, it's so important to give yourself good quality food. But I definitely eat for fun. Like, pizza is my favorite.
Oh my God, you have to eat for fun. That's like one of the joys of being a human on Earth, is eating. Are you kidding?
I really agree with that.
There's this pop-up in Venice I really want to go to. I don't know how long it's there, but
is it popped up right now?
Yeah.
Even in quarantine times?
Yes. And you know that you can like kind of drink on the streets now. So maybe I'll wave to you from across the street.
What's the pop-up?
I think it's called Vale Venice, and it's like a Oaxacan restaurant, and it's the chefs from like Jelena and Mountain.
Wait, are you kidding me? Jelena's like one of my favorite restaurants.
No shit, yeah.
It's in Venice?
Yeah.
What you doing tonight? No, I'm kidding.
Literally, they have the most banging looking quesadillas.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this weekend I'm calling you, and we're gonna walk 6 feet apart with our Oaxacan quesadillas.
Yes.
That sounds so good.
I know.
Okay, well, I mean, you kind of already touched upon fitness and like, you know, what your combo is and like what your tips are. But because, I mean, everyone watching this should check out Katie's Zoom classes. They're my favorite. And you've also been teaching live classes, right? On Instagram Live.
Yeah, I've been doing live. Carbon 38's been pretty consistent. I've randomly done a couple other brands, but they're my favorite because they actually pay you. So shout out to Carbon 38.
That's so nice.
I love having you in class.
I love being in your class, honestly. It's so like entertaining and motivating and all of the things. Like, just Katie really does have the best energy, and I'm not just saying that because we're talking, but I also feel like for me, like the way that you tone, which is like very much like the Body by Simone, like lengthening Pilates kind of method. Before I started working out at Body by Simone, I did a lot of like HIIT and boot camp things, and that worked fine for me, but it really wasn't until I consistently started coming to your classes and working out in that way that I really noticed my body lean out, because I was never big by any means, but I did have like a little bit like bulkier muscles because like I played soccer my whole life. So like, and then when I was constantly doing boot camp classes that really worked your legs, it was like almost too intense for me. And then once I started working out the way you do, it just has completely transformed my body, and it's like fun. So if anyone wants to check out Katie's classes, it's like, I mean, you can talk about what it is specifically.
Yeah, I have a dance background, so usually 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes we will dance in them, sometimes we won't. And yeah, the toning is Pilates based. We will always hit abs because they're my favorite thing to do. We'll do a lot of tabletop. Just come check it out. It's 30 minutes. I've been doing donation based, so there's no pressure. It's honestly, donate what you can. I love being able to be an outlet out there for people that have lost their job and can't afford it. That's been like really rewarding for me. And then the people that can have been so supportive and lovely. And I've met so many new people from it. It's kind of crazy. The lives help,
so cool.
like people from all over the place. It's insane. Like,
That's
I don't
so
know.
cool.
They'll be like, I'm from Italy. And you're like, what?
That's awesome. Have they been
Yeah.
doing the Zoom classes or just on live?
Some
Because
of
I'm
them
like,
have
have
been
we have some
doing,
Italians in there and
I
I don't
don't,
even know it?
I don't know if we've had any Italians, but we've definitely had a handful that I've gotten from the Carbon Lives. So
Wow.
like I'll have randoms
Yeah,
in class that I don't know.
that's
I mean,
awesome.
they're not
They're
randoms
randoms,
anymore.
but yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like it's
Yeah.
not the normal.
No,
Yeah.
it's fun and it definitely like it gives me life. I've gotten like really heartwarming feedback from people and
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, I take Kay's class multiple times during the week, and it definitely gives me something to look forward to and keeps me motivated and kicks my butt. Like you don't realize like 30 to 45 minutes can be so challenging, but I'm like working a
yeah,
sweat. So
yeah.
check it out. Your Instagram is I'll tag it in here, but it's
Okay,
at
yeah.
KMULLS7. Is that correct?
Yep.
Wow, I'm a stalker, but
Good girl. No, you're
just
not.
tagged you in one too many posts.
Truly.
Is there any last like parting wisdom that you would like to share? I mean, I feel like you've already given us so much good advice, but
I guess I want to just again how healing music has been for me during this time and
mm,
that I know for people that maybe used to like meditation or just quiet time with themselves or tuning into their body, like all of that can sound super woo woo for a lot of people and maybe off putting or whatever. But if you're feeling that stirring inside you of whatever, just something's off, and not knowing the next step, turning the TV off, um, turning the lights down, creating an atmosphere. So I'll clean my room, I'll put a nice scent in my diffuser, maybe I'll light a candle, and then I'll turn music on. Sometimes it's my own stuff that I know I love. Maybe choosing a radio station on Spotify of one of your favorite artists. That's usually good because then you can get some new stuff peppered in. And just like setting a vibe for yourself. And then and and that's it. And then things will just kind of start rolling. Because a lot of times I'm lazy or I'm tired. Like I told you, I'm innately lazy. Or I don't know where to start because I'm just feeling so kind of like down. And I'll just start with that. I'll start with the vibe of the room and the music. And then music automatically puts you into your body and your feelings. Sometimes I'll just start crying. I didn't even know I need to cry. And it just, and then I feel the release in my body and then all of a sudden I'm feeling joy or like I'm feeling sexy or like whatever, and I just think like music can help you ride that journey that you needed to go on that you didn't know how really, it's a really nice tool, I think.
yeah.
If you're unsure.
This all makes sense too because Katie has the best music of like, I mean, every time like in your classes too, like your music always gets me going.
I
So
love you. It takes me,
I
I've
know it
never
takes a
switched up
while.
my playlist more than I ever have been in quarantine.
Yeah.
I used to
Well,
leave
I
it
know
for
it
like
takes a
months.
while. We appreciate you.
I mean, I've got nothing else to do now, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're
If
killing
it's
it.
really
So
good, I was just crying.
yes. No, it's so good. Honestly, I think it's really I like used to work with this guy who was like he made himself cry every morning just to like make himself feel good.
Wait,
And
how?
he said he would just stare in the mirror and like say like terrible things to himself. I don't really know if I agree with that methodology, but I do agree with like allowing yourself to like the healing,
Yeah,
cleansing, therapeutic of crying. But be nice to
yeah.
yourself. Say kind words of affirmation. Um, Thank you so much, Katie, for joining me today.
Thank
And
you.
we'll have to do, like I said, a real in-person podcast version of this when we're allowed to be in person together. But I'm just so glad
Thank
that we were able
you.
to do this in the meantime.
Oh my God. I love you. Like every chat we have is, I leave feeling better, and I don't know. We're always on the same wavelength, at least so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
So far we're riding the same one, but
Yes.
it's been a joy. This was my first time like just open book chatting, so I
Yeah.
feel a little exposed
You killed it.
in my sweats, but thanks for
That's
having
the
me.
best thing, of course. We're literally wearing like below this. I have like Lululemons on. This is
I
the
know I
beauty
was
of
supposed
Zoom
to
calls.
hide the sweatpants, but like I like am fidgety and like I sit like a like Gollum, so I can't
It's work at
help
home chic.
it.
It's amazing. Perfect. All
I
right.
can't
Well,
wait to
thanks
see you
again, Katie.
IRL.
I know. Love you. Bye,
Love
guys. Thanks
you.
for tuning in.